I want to talk about some coatings that I've used on my truck in the war on rust and corrosion. Basically some paint coatings and some anti-corrosion kind of goo type anti-corrosion coatings for using underneath. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to talk about here is POR 15. If you haven't heard of this, you're probably living under a rock. And I've used that stuff extensively on this truck. Basically a lot of stuff that has to be black because POR is black. It gives you a nice glossy black finish and looks good. And there's a lot of stuff under the hood, core support, brackets, other things that need to be black. And they're coated with this stuff that's extremely rugged, wears like iron. Its reputation is known. It's good stuff. Now here's another thing I want to talk about that I've used even more of on this truck that you might not know about. And this is an Eastwood product called Rust Encapsulator Platinum. Okay, and I've used a lot of this. As a matter of fact, a lot more of this than the POR. And I prefer this to POR. It has properties to it that that I find superior to POR, and so I got a name for this stuff. I call it slather coat. Okay, so I'm just going to call it slather coat from here. Okay, so when I say slather coat, that's what I mean. I mean Eastwood Rust Encapsulator Platinum. Okay, and I call it slather coat for short because it slathers on. It slathers on thick like barbecue sauce. And here's here's some unused portion of POR. And what happens, these products are they're basically a humidity hardened, moisture hardened urethane type of formulation. They harden not catalytically and not by air drying. They harden by contact with humidity in the air, and that's the reason why once you open the can, the shelf life is limited and the unused portion is eventually going to harden on you. And so that's what I got here. And as those of you who know this product know, this stuff is as hard as a rock down there. It's unbelievable. So that's about a third of a can of POR that went hard, and it's just insane down there. It's hard as a rock. Now with the slather coat, it's the same thing, and it's the same type of product. It is a humidity hardened urethane type of product, so it's very similar to POR, but it has differences. One thing, POR tells you that it is vulnerable to UV exposure, and you know, I haven't put that to the test because pretty much everywhere I use it is not really exposed to sunlight. And but this product, they tell you that it doesn't have a problem with UV exposure. They tell you that doesn't really need to be top coated, even though you can. And but boy, you better sand it. If you're going to top coat this stuff, it needs to be scuff sanded. Absolutely, don't even try it. It's like painting on top of Teflon. Okay, nothing's going to stick to it. It's hard as a rock. And yeah, you know, POR is like that too. If you're going to top coat it, you better scuff sand it. So anyway, here's some of the slather coat. The way I've been using the slather coat is I put it in these, you can buy these at Menards, they're empty. These are the Dutch Boy house paint containers. You can buy them empty, and that's what I do. I only buy this stuff by the quart. Don't buy it any bigger than a quart unless you can use a lot of it really fast. I've gone through a lot of this stuff. I've gone through probably, I don't know, probably several gallons of this stuff. Probably something approaching 4 or 5 gallons. Lots of it, but I go through it a quart at a time. Stuff ain't cheap neither. It's like over $50 a quart. That's what it is, man. And you know, I ain't pushing this. I sure don't get nothing for. I'm telling you though, this is the stuff. I've used it, okay, and I'm going to tell you why I like this stuff. But anyway, here's some of the unused product hardened in this plastic. Well, the thing I like about the plastic is I can reuse this container because the stuff doesn't stick to plastic, and you can put the lid on, you can still get it back open. If you hammer the lid down on this after it's open and you get one speck of that material in the lid, forget it. That lid's never coming off again. You'll have to chisel it off. You'll have to cut your way in here. The adhesion of this stuff's insane, man. It will just glue that lid on there forever, and POR will do that too. Okay, and then so if you put it in this plastic here, it won't stick in the threads. You can still get the lid off. It might take a little muscle, but you can get the lid off. And then when you have unused product that hardens down in there, you can release it. I'll have to cut this. I'll have to get some snips and cut it into a smaller pieces, but that's what you get down there. You can separate it from the plastic, okay? So you see that, you get the idea. And anyways, the thing is, this stuff here, every bit as tough as POR. Every bit as tough. The hardness of this stuff is insane. I can't put a mark in it with my thumbnail. And you know, I'm telling you, I've used both of these products extensively. I see how they turn out. I've also seen a couple years of road wear on these, and I see how they work. And this slather coat is good stuff. But the reason why it's better than POR is a little thin out of the can, and it's a little bit too thin to brush, okay? And with slather coat, you can brush it. It's thick. It loads on there like barbecue sauce with a brush, and that's why I call it slather coat. And you can put this stuff on thick if you needed to. So, you know, you're using it on things that are underneath and unseen, and you don't care about the surface finish. You're not trying to make it look pretty. You're just trying to encase it in something that's rugged and impervious, and something that sticks and has adhesion. And this stuff is great. This stuff's every bit as good as POR. I'm telling you, I've used both of them on this truck, and every bit as tough. And with a POR, it's too thin to put on with a brush. POR is fussy, where sometimes it'll fisheye on you, and maybe if you had a little surface contamination or something, fisheye is really easy. It sucks away from edges and things like that. It does weird stuff sometimes, and it gets fussy on you, okay? Slather coat is not. Slather coat is not fussy. Slather coat doesn't care. It doesn't fisheye. You can load it on thick, and as thick as you want. And it comes out of the can pretty darn thick. Sometimes it's even a little too thick to brush. You can almost spoon it out of there. You have to reduce it. And you can spray this stuff too if you want. If finish is important, you can reduce it. You use xylene to reduce it. Same as POR, has to be reduced with xylene. You can reduce it, strain it, put it in your spray gun. Make sure you clean everything out of there, because once this stuff starts to harden, it's solvent proof. You get it on your skin, and if it's been on there for more than, say, 15-20 minutes, it's solvent proof. You're going to be wearing it like a tattoo till it wears off. It'll eventually peel off. But yeah, that's how it is. You get it on your clothes, you get it on anything, man. It's on there for good. If you don't clean it off with solvent while it's still wet, forget about it, man. So anyways, I like this stuff. And what happened with this truck here is the entire frame rusted out. I mean, it was gone. And you know, you've seen the videos on YouTube of rust belt trucks. So yeah, that's what happened with this one. And you know, it was so bad, it's in that condition where a lot of people will say it's unsavable. Well, I saved it, and the way I saved it, I bought a new frame. Screw it, I bought a new frame. So I put a whole new chassis under this truck, and that chassis, that frame, that new replacement part frame from GM, it comes dipped in wax, and that wax is no good. So all the wax had to come off. I don't even want to talk about that. That was a nightmare, but I got it all off, and then it's all been recoated from stem to stern with slather coat. Okay, this frame is armor plated, Jackson. It's just I have coated it. I had this frame on a rotisserie, and it's coated in places on the inside and out, places where the sun don't shine. And the thing is, the wax coating, it's dipped in wax, and the wax is actually a good thing for the inside of the frame rails, but it's not durable enough for the outside. So I leave the wax on the inside. After I recoated the outside with slather coat, then I shot more of your traditional tar-based undercoating inside of there with a snorkel gun, and man, it's just been shot to hell. It's just every inch of this thing. I went anal on this thing. Okay, so it's coated, and we have this is bed liner here. Basically anywhere there's going to be a jacking point, there's an extra layer of bed liner, and you'll see more of that. But this whole frame is coated with slather coat. All the chassis components, all of these, everything. I mean, you name it, everything. The whole damn thing. The chassis components, the control arms, the tie rods, the stabilizer, you know, the half shafts. You name it. Go ahead. You name it. It's all been coated. Like I said, I went through like about, I don't know, 5, I lost count, a quart at a time though, probably 4 or 5 gallons of slather coat, maybe more. But anyways, so it's completely coated, and you know, just everything. And then if you go under here and you look and see, what you're looking at is the left side inner rocker panels here, and this, what you're looking at, that's bed liner. And that was when I had the body shell. Okay, so the entire underside of the body shell, you see those inside rockers and the outside rockers, they were gone. They were rusted away. Those are new ones. Okay, I'm the guy that welded them in there. I'm the guy that did all that work. This thing has had all new rockers, inner and outer, all welded in. And so first they were coated with slather coat, and I mean multiple coats of slather coat, double coated, scuffed in between, slathered again, and then after that, bed liner. Okay, the entire underbody is bed liner. It's a product called Liner Extreme, and it's basically a urethane 2-part bed liner. It is not humidity hardened. It is catalytically hardened. You got to mix it up, and then you got to go. You got about 20 minutes of pot life before it starts to gel up on you, and they give you a gun to spray it with, and it's called Liner Extreme. They sell it online. Good stuff. And so anyways, well, basically the entire underbody is coated with this stuff. The coating goes all the way under the rockers to the outside. The entire underbelly goes all the way up to the door sills, and then up the front it goes all the way up to the top of the firewall. It's all bed liner. And then out the back, it just goes all the way out the back and wraps around the back and goes back into the bed. And well, guess what? The bed is coated with bed liner too, like you would expect. But the entire underbelly, okay, I mean every inch of it, okay, is slather coat, and then bed liner on top of that. And of course, all the internal surfaces of these rockers everywhere. Don't worry, they were all painted internally with slather coat before I welded them together, and then where the coating inside was burned with welds, I went in there with an inspection camera, and where you see these plugs, you're looking at a plug there. There's places where you take plugs out and you see how there's goo running down there. That's because it's all shot full of goo. It's slather coated on the inside. It's shot full of goo, and believe me, everything is. I thought of everything. Okay, trust me. I can guarantee this truck is not going to rust again for the rest of my lifetime. Okay, no matter what happens to this thing, it ain't gonna rust. I can't tell you what's gonna happen, except I can tell you it is not going to rust. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, stake your life on it. It is not going to rust. What you're looking at here too, the very bottom of the frame rails, they have been coated. So everywhere, the bottom of the frame rails, wherever there's going to be a jacking point, basically. So the places where I put the lift on it here, okay, and it goes all the way down the bottom of the rail, has also been coated with a nice thick, and it has traction additive in it too. And that's so, you know, when you put a jack on there, you want grip, you want traction, okay? So the entire bottom surface of the frame rail, wherever there's a jacking point, that's been coated with an additional armor plate of bed liner, because I thought of that too. And so like I say, man, this thing is, it's just coated to, you know, it's coated until it just, I can't think of any other more ways to coat it. But wait, there's more, okay? So getting back to coatings, there's another product here. Eastwood makes this. I've also used this. This is a great product, and this is made to be shot with a. It only comes in aerosol cans, okay, and it's pricey too. They want about $30 a can for this stuff, okay. And as you can see the picture, they call it internal frame coating, okay. So for short, I call this frame shot, okay. So between we got slather coat, we got frame shot, and we got bed liner, okay, and basically a three-pronged attack here. Now, all of the places where I had to get in, this stuff is made to be shot over existing rust, as you can see from the picture. And it says here, converts, encapsulates, and seals rust on internal frame surfaces. Well, I did not use this on the frame, but I used this on the body in a lot of places. There's these places where reinforcing ribs and channels, where you go in there and you basically, you know, you find something, what you see here. There were places where I was able to get, I had to actually cut some places off and weld new fabricated channel on there in a couple of places where it rusted through, stuff that I made by hand, and other places where it was still intact and it was still solid, and I shot it full of this stuff. And the other thing, this stuff comes in 2 colors. You can get the frame shot in green or black. And what I did was I would have a targeted area. I would shoot it full of green frame shot, let it dry, go in there with an inspection camera, look for the places I missed, and then go in there with a follow-up coating, only the next coat would be in black. And the reason why you use the different color is so you can see where you've been and you can see where you're going now. And so whenever I make a recoat, I alternate colors. And so everywhere where I had to make a panel junction by welding and things like that, and then you have to go in there and follow up on the inside, and I look with an inspection camera and I look to see where the areas need to be coated. I shoot it full of frame shot, then I go in there with a camera to make sure I hit where I needed to hit. I see the places where I might have missed. I go in there with follow-up coatings, and so went through a lot of frame shot too, man. I bought this stuff by the case. You get a case of a dozen cans. Man, on this truck alone, I think I probably went through 5 or 6 cases of this stuff, okay? It's just, and when you shoot this stuff in there, it's runny. You better not do it on a floor you care about, okay? Or put something underneath, cardboard, masking, whatever, okay? Because half of it's going to dribble out, and it's made that way. It's made runny so it will run into crevices and so forth, and when you shoot it in there, half of it's going to run out. That's just the way it is. So that's the frame shot. That's my 3-prong attack there. Everything's just all shot full of frame shot. You name it. Okay. There's all sorts of creative coatings. Now we're going to get to the preventative coatings. Okay. Now everybody wants to talk about fluid film. Okay. Everybody says fluid film, fluid film, fluid film. It's all over YouTube. There's a lot of channels that strike me as being sponsored and so forth, and everybody loves fluid film. Well, from what I've seen of fluid film, I think it's okay, but I think you can do better, and so I'm using different products that I think are better, and I'll explain to you why. Okay, first product I'm using here it's called LPS-3. Okay, Premier Rust Inhibitor, long-term protection, soft, waxy, self-healing film, and this stuff is safe on plastics. You can coat wiring connectors, plugs and stuff once it's plugged in, and then you shoot this stuff all over it, and it will put a film all around it to prevent things from getting into that plug connection, the electrical connection, things like that. So this stuff works great on a lot of stuff. I put this on the bead surface of tires so that I don't know how it's going to work over the long term, but to help protect rim leaks from corrosion. It makes the tires seal tight. You can put this stuff on rubber, and it tells you on the label, it won't hurt rubber. You can put it on your tires on the bead surface where they seal. It enhances the sealing. But anyway, this stuff I shot all over. You buy it in bulk, okay, and 1 gallon ain't enough. I got a gallon can here. 1 gallon ain't enough. To do your whole truck's going to take 2 gallons, maybe more. By the time you're going to shoot this inside of places too, you need to get your own undercoating gun with a snorkel on it, and you can just find 1,000,001 places to shoot this stuff wherever you can shoot it. And by the time you get done doing a whole truck, you're going to go through more than 2 gallons. It comes in a 5-gallon container, and that's what I would recommend. This stuff is not cheap. This stuff is double the money of fluid film. Okay, so right away somebody's going to say, well, yeah, I'm not going to spend twice the money on fluid film. All right, well, you go ahead. Go right on ahead, okay? But this stuff is double the money, and in my opinion, it's better than fluid film, and I'm going to talk about why. This stuff, it comes out of the can, liquid, right? And you got to shake it up too. Okay, so before you use it, it must be agitated, and there you go. But when this stuff dries, I don't know if you can see this here, but this is like, you see that? Okay, that's what, and it's sticky. And this is basically, it's a petroleum-based cosmoline type product. Look at that. Okay, this is what you get on there, and it's gonna grab a coating of dust, and then it doesn't really, it just picks up dust on the surface, and that's what you were seeing under my truck. Everything's just kind of coated. I live on a dusty road. Okay, but this is the reason why I like this better than fluid film. I saw a friend of mine, he did his car with fluid film, and he was telling me all about it, and he showed it to me, and it's the fluid film they make now that has a black, it's black color, and that's so it looks nice, because you know everybody wants the bottom of their car to be black, so it has a more pleasant looking appearance than this stuff. You know, this stuff has got just kind of a neutral beige color to it. And anyways, I looked under his car that had been shot with fluid film, and it was all runny and drippy. Okay, the fluid film does not congeal up into a stiff waxy goo like this stuff does. Now this stuff is liquid when you shoot it out, and it will run into the crevices and stuff because it's liquid. Okay, and it'll drip off if you lay it on thick enough. But once the solvent carrier on this stuff, once it evaporates, and there's like a solvent carrier in here, you got to have some ventilation and wear like a nuisance mask, okay? Because it'll put fumes in the air. It doesn't need to be a paint mask. All it needs to be is a particulate mask to get, you know, just because this stuff, breathing this stuff is, you need ventilation if you're doing it in a building, and you need to wear a mask. But once that solvent evaporates, like I say, you get a thick, stiff, waxy coating. It's very durable, and I'll talk more about that later. But the fluid film that I saw, I went under this guy's car, and it was just dripping, and the stuff was still running, and he didn't like just put it on yesterday either. It had been there for a while. And it was just runny, drippy, and I'm taking it on my fingers, and it's basically like, it's still like the consistency of motor oil, and it's just all liquid and drippy on there, and well, and that's why they call it fluid film, I guess. And it basically, his whole underside of his car, it basically to me looked like Illinois rust proofing. And if you don't get that joke, basically that's where you have an oil leak, and the bottom of your vehicle is getting sprayed by a continuous application of oil spray from the oil leak, and then that will prevent one area of your car's underbelly from rusting, because it's constantly being bathed in oil, and that's what they call Illinois rust proofing. Well, anyways, that's what this guy's car with fluid film looked like to me. It looked like Illinois rust proofing. It was just dripping with the stuff. Everywhere I grabbed it with, I touched it with my fingers, and it's just, well, this stuff you touch it with your fingers too. But I'm just telling you about the quality of the film that's on there, okay? And when you get done working on your vehicle with this stuff, you're going to have it all over. And here's the thing about this stuff. Your hand cleaner, it doesn't really want to wash it off. That's because this stuff resists being washed off, and that's a good thing, okay? And it's kind of a headache if you're working on your vehicle and you're taking stuff apart and it's all covered with this stuff. You're going to get it all up to your elbows, and then when you go to wash off with your standard hand cleaner, whatever you use, you're going to find it's not really cutting it. And the way you get this stuff off is you have to get some mineral spirits on a rag, and then it wipes right off. You need solvent. And that's about the only thing that dissolves this stuff readily is solvent. Okay, so water and water being sprayed on it, and detergents and soap and stuff like that, it pretty much laughs that stuff off, man. It doesn't really want to clean off with that, and that's a good thing. And I'll talk about that. I did my truck with this like crazy. I mean, you shoot it inside the door panels, inside the fenders, inside the quarters, everywhere. Everything. Like the door panels, you got to take the door panels, the interior door panels off, and shoot the doors all full of this. And water runs down inside your doors, and that's a problem. Water has to run down inside your doors. It's going to get down in there through the windows. Okay, the windows won't roll up and down if they were sealed enough to where water can't get in, and that's why now just make sure that you don't clog up the bottom drains with this, and you can take due care so your bottom drains are not clogged with this. It's not going to be that doggone thick, and it'll armor the inside of your doors, and you do the whole undercarriage and everything. And then so when I went after. I drove it last winter and went through a whole winter and everything like that, all through the salt season and the snow and all that stuff. And then last April, salt season comes to an end, and I put this thing in the air, and I took a pressure washer to it, okay? And I've got a serious pressure washer over here, okay? This pressure washer over here, this thing is a heated pressure washer, and it's a pretty serious one. You don't have to worry. It'll you can strip paint with this thing. You turn the heat up, and if you want, you can turn the steam up, turn it up to steam, and you can literally strip paint right off of stuff with it. Okay, so that's what I wash it with. Now I didn't turn the heat up to steam, but it's nice and hot. Okay, nice and warm coming out of there, plenty of pressure. I think that thing makes like 2,500 psi. So I blast the whole undercarriage of this thing clean, because it's you know, it's all coated with winter crud, and I live on a sloppy road too, so it's coated with crud from a whole winter, and the crud's holding salt. You got to clean all that off. So I did that in April. Then when I get under there, after giving it a good wash, you know, and you let it dry for a day, and then I have to go back under there and reapply. That's the plan. You know, you're going to wash and reapply every spring, and you know, you'll use about a gallon or so, and shoot it some more, and make sure, you know, that you know, you just follow up and reapply after washing. Well, here's what I found. Where I washed it off, and you know, I washed off a lot of crud, and the crud washes off, but there's still a layer of this stuff underneath where you wash the crud. You can still feel it with your fingers. So what I'm trying to tell you here is the pressure washer did not wash this stuff off. There's still a film of there, okay? There's still a film of this stuff on there, and it's still working for you. And so what I did was, even though there's still some on there, I still reapplied. You know, the more the better. Load this stuff on, okay? I'm at war with corrosion here. I've had it. I'm through playing, okay? And you know, and I don't care how much work it takes. I don't care what it costs. This stuff is, you know, this stuff is not cheap. Like I say, it's basically double the money for what you're going to pay for fluid film. But you know, now I never put the fluid film to the test, but I can tell just by how runny it is. I'll bet my pressure washer can wash that fluid film off faster than it washed this stuff off. Okay, and then so compare that to road spray. Okay. Which one you think is going to be more resistant to road spray? Okay, well, I think this is. Okay, this stuff is just like it's a thick, tenacious goo. Okay, it's some serious goo, and so that's what I call it for short. I call it the anti-corrosion goo, LPS-3. I like it. Okay, now here's the other prong, the two-prong approach. This stuff here, this stuff is great. Okay, in some ways, this stuff is even better than the LPS-3. This is an excellent product, okay, and guys who have boats on the saltwater use this stuff. And the thing about it, though, the only sad part is you can't buy this stuff in bulk. You can only get it in spray cans. That's it. So you get aerosol cans. But what this stuff is for, anywhere where you're using a spot application, anywhere it's like low volume, and you just you can use this under the hood and all kinds of places where you need to have a targeted spot application. Lots of places, maybe you worked on something and you disturbed the coating, and then you're just going to replenish it. You know, you turn some bolts, turn some wrenches, and then you're just going to replenish the coating after you know, you can just go in there and touch things up, and you can use it on or you can use it wholesale, you know, and use a whole can or whatever. Maybe, you know, it would be kind of you know, inefficient to try to do a whole truck, but you could. You can buy this stuff in quantities like you can get like a 6-pack of these cans, and that's what I get. Get them on Amazon, and this is really good stuff. And you can see how this stuff is coming out of the nozzle, and it's just dripping off, and it's solidifying into a. It's even more waxier. Okay. This is not liquid running off of there. I'm wiping it with my finger here, okay? If you can see that, and you see how there's just a goo, a dribble of goo that has, you know, dribbled off the chin of that spray nozzle from where it's been spraying out. Now it comes out runny. This stuff is actually thinner and runnier than LPS-3, okay? But the solvent carrier evaporates, and then that's what you get. You get a nice, tough, waxy surface, and you know, it's thin and runny. But that makes it penetrate into cracks and crevices. I understand that principle, but then if you want it to build up thick, they tell you in the instructions. They tell you here that spray in light, even movements for thorough coverage. For heavier film, additional coats may be applied after each coat dries. If you could read that along with me, I just read it. But that's what they're telling you. You can't load this stuff on because it's just going to drip off. So you got to kind of dust it on there, let it dry. If you're in a hurry, I've actually had this. I put it on stuff where I'm in a hurry and I want multiple coats, so I dry it off with a heat gun. And you can hurry up and get it to flash off in a few minutes, and then hurry up and apply some more, and flash it off with the heat gun and get it so it's dry enough to handle, and then put it back together. And I tell you, places where I use this stuff, like you see these my fog lamp mounts here underneath. And now this bracket here that they're mounted to is solid stainless. You don't have to worry. But these, okay, the hardware that the manufacturer provides to mount these lamps is not stainless. I wish they would, but you know, you can't have everything you want. So the reason why they have that bronze golden hue is they've been heavily coated with that CRC marine coat, okay, and they are not rusting, okay, and they are right down here in the spray, right on the very bottom of things, okay, and they're staying clean. And you go up here once a year and go under there, and when you do your spring wash off, and then you dry it out and you reapply that coating, okay. So that's why, and there's a ton of places where I've used this, like under the hood, and like I say, there's places underneath where there's a spot area. So this is my two-pronged approach here. The big bulk for big coverage, and you apply it. You know, this is the stuff you apply. You know, in a large way, and this is the stuff you apply in a more pinpointed manner. Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, these two products right here, I've been using them for a couple of years, and I like what I see so far. And I ain't seeing any rust either. Okay, and I like what these look like, you know, just the properties of them. I've compared this to, like I say, a friend who has used fluid film and he likes it, and I'm not saying fluid film is bad, okay? I'm not saying that at all. And if you like fluid film, that's great. You know, and fluid film is cheaper. And yeah, you could keep loading fluid film on there every year, and yep, and it'll be just like they say too. I'll bet you it'll protect it if you just keep up with it and keep loading it on there. Well, I'll bet you if you keep loading this stuff on there too, I think you're going to like the results. And as far as I'm concerned, this stuff here is the winning combination right here. These two products, and there's other stuff out there if you look, okay? And but I like these. This is the winning combination until somebody else shows me something better, okay? And you know, I've taken a look at fluid film. I mean, I would use it, but I would not take it over this stuff. I'd take that stuff over fluid film. I'd take both of these products over fluid film. And so you know, there you have it. As far as I'm concerned, that's the winning combination. As far as you know, what I select, what I'm gonna use, until somebody can show me something better. One more thing I want to talk about with this slather coat, okay? These products, just like POR says, you know, POR stands for paint over rust, and yes, you can, and it basically encapsulates existing rust. Well, so does this stuff, and that's why they call it rust encapsulator, and it works the same way. And I've used it in a couple places. Now, most of the places where I use this, both of the products, POR